Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Elliot, and welcome back to This and That Reviews, where I compare movies to other movies, and I'm definitely going to compare this to probably a lot of movies. This is Mortal Kombat 4. Yeah, because it's definitely not Mortal Kombat 2. It is definitely a fourth movie in two different versions of two sequels. This is definitely a sequel to the Mortal Kombat of the 2020 era. And I feel like this movie, so I'm going to go into probably spoilers, because I want to talk about this movie just the one time. Not that I do any, like regular review and spoiler review, but I want to talk about a lot of this movie. And my like real thought, my true thoughts about this movie. But what I'll say is, if you just want my like quick review, I feel like this movie at its best is best watched if you watch the first one and then immediately go into this one and just watch them as like one really long, like, I don't know, 4-hour movie or whatever, 3-hour movie. I don't think it's not a standalone movie. My girlfriend was never going to watch this movie. And so I obviously went by myself. And after watching it, it's not the kind of movie where you could just watch and have a good time. You really need all of the the quote unquote character development of the first movie in order to go into this movie. Because I didn't watch Mortal Kombat, in this sequel. I didn't watch the first one. I haven't watched it since it came out. Normally I would, if it's not a movie that I watch like all the time or can like remember I don't remember every single detail about that movie because I watched it when it came out, and then I just went into this one like a couple of days ago. And I feel like if you just go into this movie with that time dilation of having watched the other one like a long time ago, or if you go into this movie cold and you didn't even watch the other one, or you don't play the games, I don't think this movie works. Now, I felt that way about a couple of movies. I think Borderlands, I know that a lot of people hated Borderlands, but since I played the game, I liked it. And then the Super Mario, not Galaxy, but even just the first movie, I feel like all three of these movies, Borderlands, Super Mario World, and this movie, like Mortal Kombat 2, I feel like all of those movies only really work if you're a fan of the franchise. If you're not a fan of the franchise, if you don't know all the characters, if you didn't even watch Mortal Kombat 1, if you don't care about like anything that has to do with Mortal Kombat, you're not going to be won over, but with Mortal Kombat. My girlfriend is not really like necessarily a superhero movie person. She has seen superhero movies before like me coming into her life, but she's not what you would call a superhero movie person. Like, I'm not showing her every single Marvel like TV show, for example. I'm showing her important ones when like a new one is gonna come out, and then that's the reason why she's watching them. But she's the kind of person that I could show Logan to, and Logan is such a good standalone movie that you don't need to know any prior knowledge of anything to do with X-Men, and it's still a good movie. These kinds of movies, Super Mario, Borderlands, Mortal Kombat 2, they only work if you are a fan of the franchise. So if you are a fan of the franchise, I would recommend this movie, and I think that on that level it's fine, but if you're not, then don't. In order to like give you my baseline for how much of a fan I am, I didn't really play the game as a kid. If anything, I played Mortal Kombat 1 in arcades and then not at all. Like, I never owned any single Mortal Kombat. I followed the franchise. Like, I love, like, watching YouTube videos of, like, fatalities and kills, and, you know, like, when they started introducing, like, wacky characters like the Terminator and Homelander into the game, I thought that was really fun, and I would watch other people play it. So I know the characters, and then I watched the original Mortal Kombat 1 in theaters and loved it, loved the soundtrack. A lot of people like shit on that movie now as being like a quote-unquote bad movie, and maybe it is, but it is the best of these movies. I think that of all of these movies, Mortal Kombat Annihilation, the 2020 Mortal Kombat, and then like Mortal Kombat 2, I think that movie is the best of all of these movies. It has the character development for each of the characters. You spend enough time with all the characters. All the characters feel like fleshed out people. It is about the tournament. It's everything that you would want a Mortal Kombat movie to be. Now, people are saying that Mortal Kombat 2 is the better of the two recent ones, because Mortal Kombat 1, the focus was on Cole Young, obviously a character that nobody knows or cares about. And this one is about the tournament, but in this one, the problem is you don't have any of the character development that you would have had if you with the first movie. And I think that the lack of character development doesn't allow this movie to be a standalone movie. And so you need to watch the first one and then immediately go into this one, and then it makes more sense. But even in saying that, and I'm going to go into spoilers now, because that was pretty much my thoughts, my quick thoughts. Even in saying that, if you watch the first movie and then go straight into this one, where Cole is the main character and nobody gives two shits about Cole in this movie, I thought that moment was so funny when I wasn't even sure, because like so many things are happening within this movie. And if you've seen the movie, you already know, like multiple fights are taking place, and then they all like go back to home base. And so like 3 fights happen at the same time. It's like Jax versus, Jade, and then Liu Kang versus Kung Lao. And the Liu Kang versus Kung Lao is obviously like the main focus here. And then it's like Cole versus Shao Kahn. And that was another thing that I found weird about this movie, is that when you have the big bad character, you know, like the main bad guy character fighting in the tournament, fighting people, you're pretty sure he's not gonna be the person that dies in this battle, in this Mortal Kombat battle. And then they set up an idea that, you know, like the victor of the battle chooses to either let you go or kill you. He's not gonna let you go. So, you know, like Shao Kahn versus Cole, as like quote unquote dramatic as they try to make that, it's not a dramatic fight, because you already know Shao Kahn is definitely going to not lose. You definitely know, like, he's going to make it to the end of this movie. And so he obviously kills Cole, and then they get back to home base, and everybody talks about all the other stuff, right? Jax talks about his stuff, and like Liu Kang talks about his stuff. And I was like, are they just gonna not even talk about Cole? And then Jax is like, hey, where's Cole? And then they're like, oh. Anyway, like, so even if you saw like the first Mortal Kombat, where Cole is like the main central like focus of that entire story, and his family and his fight to get powers, they just throw him away in this movie, and then it just makes that movie feel even more useless than it already is. But then it also has all the character development that you need for all your other main characters. It has the character development for Liu Kang and Sonya and Kung Lao and Jax and Kano and all of these characters. So you can't have one without the other, but having both also kind of makes each other bad. Like all the Mortal Kombat stuff, or all the tournament stuff is in this one. But all the character development stuff is in the other one, and you kind of need one movie with everything. And so I feel like if you watch both of them back to back, it's the best viewing experience. But even in saying that, I think that the first Mortal Kombat is the best version of any of these movies because it has the tournament and all the character development. And an example in the example that I just gave of, Cole being tossed aside and being like a character that you don't even care about, you could say that same thing in the original about Art, their friend. Like their friend that goes up against Goro. And you know that this regular man is not going to beat Goro. And he doesn't. But you feel really sad when he dies. And he's also, in the same way that Cole is, not a character in Mortal Kombat. He's not a character that anybody cares about if he lives or dies. And, he's certainly a throwawayable character. And yet you feel so much for that character because the movie makes you feel like that. It makes you feel that he is a friend to Johnny Cage. Like it's a random guy, but you feel so much more for his death than you do for Cole's death in Mortal Kombat 2, even though he had an entire movie of character development. And I feel like that is the reason why I don't think that Mortal Kombat 2 is even that great of a movie, just as its own thing. Like, if you like the games and you know all the characters and you get all the references, I think that it is a step above a movie like Welcome to Raccoon City. I don't know if you ever saw Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City, and if you haven't, don't. It's really bad. It is Resident Evil the name drop. It's just like, hi, I'm Chris Redfield. And this is my sister, Claire Redfield. How are you doing, Albert Wesker? It's so cool that we're here at the RRPD. It's just like reference after reference after reference. And a lot of people are slamming the new Resident Evil Zach Kreger movie trailer for not looking too Resident Evil enough. And here's my thought on that really quick. If you want it to look like Resident Evil, watch Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City. And that's a bad movie because all it is just references to Resident Evil. The Zach Kreger movie, and I haven't seen this movie, obviously. I'm just talking about the trailer. It just dropped. The Zach Kreger movie might not completely look like a Resident Evil movie. I mean, I get the references and I get like the looting system and like I believe there's a pot that there's a the director said that there's a clay pot that's reminiscent of, I believe, Resident Evil 4. But there's like a clay pot in a shot in there, and that's a direct reference to that. So it is Resident Evil. It's just not Resident Evil in the way that you would think. Like there isn't the Claire Redfield and the Chris Redfield. Like it's just a guy in a world with zombies. But I told my girlfriend, I was like, I think, given the choice between a movie with just a whole bunch of name drops and a good movie, I think I'd rather just see a good movie. If it just has Resident Evil and there are, 2 name drops, there's like, there's a shot of like the liquor in there. Like if there's just like that, right? If there's like the liquor, or there's like an Albert Wesker moment. He's like, or, like maybe he meets Chris. Like, I'm Chris, right? Just a couple of those, and it's good. I'd rather have that than name drop the movie. And I feel like that is name drop the movie. Like the Welcome to Raccoon City is another like example of a movie that's not good. It's just a whole bunch of name drops. I think that Mortal Kombat 2 is a little bit better than that. It is a little bit more than just name drops. There is an amount of character development with the characters that they have to because they introduce them in this one. Johnny Cage, Katana, and they have that, but I don't think it's not enough to be able to recommend to people who don't care about the franchise. One thing that I will give this, and I loved it ever since, like from the get-go of this movie, because he's introduced in the opening scene, Shao Kahn. I never saw. Okay, to go back to my explanation of like my history with this franchise, I didn't really play the games. I like watching YouTube videos of the game. I saw the first movie and loved it and loved the soundtrack. And then I was very excited to watch Mortal Kombat Annihilation in the theaters. And I very specifically remember this. I went because me and my stepdad were already going to go, and my cousin was at the house, and so then we asked him if he wanted to go. And I don't remember technically watching the movie, but I do remember leaving the movie. And I remember leaving the movie, and my stepdad asked me, "Oh, so what did you think?" And I was like, "I loved it. It was so cool," because it was everything that I wanted from a sequel. Now, watching that movie again, if I watch the first Mortal Kombat again right now, I still like it. Watching Mortal Kombat Annihilation again, like now, with all the knowledge of movies that I have now, it is not a good movie. The CGI is rough. Like, if you don't know anything about Mortal Kombat Annihilation, look up the Shao Kahn Liu Kang fight at the very end of the movie where they transform into like a dragon and like Godzilla or whatever he transforms into with his I think he transforms into like a Hydra. Or like a three-headed like Ghidorah kind of thing. And watch the moment, like, it's all bad, but like watch the moment when Shao Kahn, like, his like forehead like stretches upwards as he's transforming. It's so bad. The CGI in that is awful. And that is not to say anything about the rest of that movie. And something that I appreciated about Mortal Kombat 2 was the fact that so at the end of Mortal Kombat 1, you see Shao Kahn as like this ethereal figure that breaks open the temple and is like, "I will come for your souls," or whatever cool line he has at the end of that. And when Mortal Kombat Annihilation starts, and they immediately spoilers for that movie, and they immediately kill off Johnny Cage, and then he takes off his helmet, and he's just like a dude, like a bald dude. I was like, I don't believe this at all. I don't believe that this is like the toughest man ever. I don't believe that Liu Kang can't defeat this guy. Like, we've seen what Liu Kang can do. I don't believe that he can't fight this guy. Like, I was like, Shang Tsung was a very tough fight for him, and that made sense. And it made sense to me. And that's an old guy. Like, this is a much younger guy, but something about his look, he just looked like a drunk guy at a bar. Like, I was like, I don't believe that this man is Shao Kahn, the toughest outworld fighter at all. It's just a bald dude. I appreciated the fact that you never, spoilers for this movie, you almost never see his face. And from the get-go, like, when he has that opening fight in this movie, I thought that was a really good choice. And he looked like a very imposing guy. And then he has like this giant like spike hammer, which is really cool. There's so many references in this movie that go from being really cool and subtle, like his shoulder smash, his like green shoulder smash. And I understand that is a move from the game. Shao Kahn does that in the game. And I thought that was a really cool moment. There's references that are really cool and subtle like that. And then there are references that you have to kind of look up or know, and they don't try to explain it. And my least favorite one is Noob Saibot. Because I was pretty sure that's who that was, but I didn't remember the lore enough to know that that's what that was. But it was very weird. As even like, like a casual Mortal Kombat fan that I am, it was very weird to have everything in Mortal Kombat 1 be so about Scorpion and Sub-Zero, to the point where this movie treats them like how they treat Cole Young, where they're not supposed to be in this movie, but we need to have them in this movie anyway because they were in the first movie. And I feel like they could have done so much more with those two characters, and they just don't. And the fact that they're trying to tell you that Sub-Zero turns into Noob Saibot was very strange. I thought that was very weird. That Scorpion could still be Scorpion, even though he's died, but Sub-Zero now has to be this different person. He's like, he doesn't even have ice powers anymore, and he has shadow powers and multiplication powers, and that was so weird to me. But like, and like that, and like then they bring in Quan Chi, which is another, like, you know, it's another game reference where, you know, like he has the ability to bring back the dead, and that's why they need him. I love that. That what's his name? Johnny Cage says magical bullshit, because that's what the entire plot of this movie is. Like, Johnny Cage knows that the audience doesn't care about this like immortality thing that, you know, Shao Kahn is looking for, and it's just magical bullshit that they need to like keep away from Shao Kahn, which I thought was a great line delivered like at such a correct point in this movie. I think I was cheering. I was like audibly clapping and like, yes, you know, like it's just because it's such a dumb plot point. And I think in that way, that's what elevates this movie to being better than Welcome to Raccoon City, and just being like, oh, look, here's Quan Chi, and here's Noob Saibot, and here's Jade, and here's Baraka. You know, like it elevates it from just being that, because you have characters that are very likable and very charismatic, and Johnny Cage, Kano, do that for you. They keep you entertained enough to continue wanting to watch the movie, where it doesn't have to become so heavy. When it becomes like ridiculous and heavy with like Raiden and Katana, whenever they have lines where it's just like, the fate of the world is in your hands, it made me feel like I was watching the third movie in a franchise I've never seen. It would be like if you turned on like Return of the King, and you had Gandalf, and he was like, Gimli and Aragorn, you must go to Minas Tirith and find King Theoden. I know that these aren't like the things, I'm just like name dropping. You must find King Theoden and at Minas Tirith, and you must recruit his army of the dead in order for us to defeat Sauron and end this great war. You know, like, and it's just, there's just like a lot of sentences like that in this movie where, and that's like the start of this movie. Like the first quarter of this movie is really rough, because it feels like you're starting at this grand like place, like they're trying to like shove the stakes at you, like down your throat, like they're just trying so hard to be like, this is the most important, this is for the fate of Earth Realm, you know, like, and you're like, you're like, I just sat down, man. Like, I just got here. Can you build up to this? And they're like, no, we can't. You already saw Mortal Kombat 1. Like, all of we built up to this in all of that movie. Like, you just have to get here from right now. Like, there's no build up. Like, we're starting here at this very heightened level. Frodo and, you know, like, Frodo and, what's that dude's name? Frodo and Samwise Gamgee, the fate of Middle-earth is at stake. You must throw the ring into the fires of Mount Doom, or else Sauron will rule the land. You know, like, and you're just like, wait, okay, so that guy's name is Frodo. His name is Sam. They have to throw this ring into like a thing, and if they don't, like, the world will explode. I don't know. And that's how the beginning of this movie feels. And it takes a little bit to like get into the movie. But I think once it does, like once it starts to slow down and become what it's going to be, I think that the movie starts to take off. Baraka is so much funnier than I thought he was going to be. Like, it would be so easy to do Baraka as like a faceless character. And I think that he's so much funnier than he deserves to be. If there's a third movie, I would totally watch the third movie. But I mean, like, I'm just saying that if you are not already a fan of Mortal Kombat, this is not going to bring you into the Mortal Kombat family. Like, in the way that if you were not a fan of X-Men, Logan would bring you into the X-Men family and make you want to watch all of the other X-Men. I do feel like, as a precursor, if you want to find out whether or not you will like this movie, and it's much bloodier than it needs to be, but watch Scorpion's Revenge. There's a cartoon, and don't let the word cartoon fool you. It's the bloodiest thing I've ever seen. The bloodiest, grossest thing I've ever seen. Watch Scorpion's Revenge, and if you want to, Battle of the Armies. There are 2 Mortal Kombat cartoons on HBO Max. And if you watch Scorpion's Revenge and like it, and you understand all the, the name drops that it's dropping at you, that's basically how this movie feels. It's just a bunch of battles and a bunch of, blood and guts and name drops. That's the experience of watching this movie. And if you watch that movie and you are okay with this almost little to no character development of each of the characters, and you just want to watch like bloody combat and, I think there's like 10 different fights that happen over the course of this movie. And if you're okay with just watching people fight against other people because the fate of the world is at stake, if we don't defeat our enemies, Earthrealm will be destroyed. If that is, if you're okay with like the 0 character development and then just cool fights, that are in those 2 cartoons, then you'll like this movie. Then that is like your mileage of how much you will like this movie, because that's exactly what this movie is. But yeah. Thank you guys for thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for listening, and I will catch you in my next review, which will probably be Sheep Detective and or Obsession.